Hey y'all, I have 2 tickets to the LSU New Mexico game that I'm giving away. They are on the south end zone, section 419, and the best part is they're in the shade. But if you want them, you have to click subscribe to my channel and then leave a comment in this video that says, "Outta my league." And I will announce the winner Friday at noon. But again, if you want these tickets to the LSU New Mexico game, you have to be a subscriber to my channel and leave a comment titled "Outta my league." Long enough to cover the subject and short enough to keep it interesting. Welcome to Outta My League. I'm Nick Diaz. We do this every week on a Tuesday. It's time to buy, sell, or hold stock in LSU football after beating Mississippi State. Now, we usually start with the players, but this time we'll start with the coaches because I have a lot I want to get off my chest. So the offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrock. Buy. Look, I know I was critical of Mike Denbrock yesterday because he's trying too many 5-step drops, 7-step drop back passes with Jayden Daniels, turning him into a pocket passer because he shouldn't do that. He's not great at doing that, which is what I tried to tell people all offseason. But I see Mike Denbrock still making great adjustments as the game goes along that fits Jayden Daniels' strengths and the team's strengths. I just need to see Mike Denbrock do a little bit more of that throughout the game. And also, to be fair, a big part of play calling is the talent on the field and the talent executing on the field. Only so much a play caller can do in that situation from up in the booth. Now look, I've been critical, but believe me, I'm still a huge fan of Mike Denbrock's offense. I truly am. I'm a big believer in him when he was at Cincinnati. I love his offensive philosophy, his sets, all of those things. And this offense is getting better as he learns his new personnel each week. Defensive coordinator Matt House. Don't just buy stock, invest into becoming a damn shareholder in the company. That's the kind of game planning from an NFL defensive coordinator that you see on Sundays. What's more impressive, though, is the fact that Matt House was able to teach a complex NFL scheme to college players. That's hard enough to do as it is. On top of that, most of the secondary have never played with each other. You have a freshman middle linebacker, and he was able to do that in Game 3 in his first year of installing this NFL defense. And it already looks this smooth? I don't think y'all understand how amazing that is. I mean, I'm to the point now where if I'm Brian Kelly, I'm getting a little nervous about NFL teams coming after Matt House as their defensive coordinator after this season. I'm that impressed. Special teams, Brian Polian. He doesn't get a sell. He doesn't get a hold. He gets a So this is what Brian Kelly had to say about the special teams on his Monday press conference.
As it relates to the fielding of the punts, we got to coach better. I mean, and I've got to be involved in that and make sure that those guys are absolutely clear in terms of they cannot move their heels, past the 10-yard line. Greg obviously lost track of where he was. He's a young player. We've got to do a better job coaching him there.
All right. My reaction to this is probably a little bit different than other people's reaction. When I hear a coach say, well, we have to do a better job and that starts with me, or I have to do a better job, or I have to be more involved in this, usually I interpret that as we don't have good enough players at that position, but I'm trying to be nice about it in a press conference setting. Because here's the thing, coaches get shit on every time it even remotely sounds like they're throwing a player under the bus. Because if you actually go back and listen to the full clip, he's being asked about the fielding of the punts, specifically with Gregory Clayton, a former walk-on or a current walk-on. I don't even know if he has a scholarship or not. Whatever. He's played at Lutcher and he was at UTSA last year and he was a late addie before fall camp. Whatever. He's not talking about the special teams as a whole. He's saying we have to do better and coach better at teaching our guys how to field punts, which even goes back to Malik Neighbors. This is coaches speak. And I hear a lot of this all the time. But because the special teams have been so bad, people tend to think, well, he's trying to say Brian Polian sucks at his job. And Brian Kelly may be saying that, okay? You absolutely may be right if you think that. But while I'm still selling stock in Brian Polian at this point, it's just at this point. See, here's the thing. My rule of thumb when it comes to coaches is that good coaches don't become bad overnight. It happens slowly over time. Good coaches don't become bad overnight. So I looked up the stats from Brian Polian at his special teams at Notre Dame. And this narrative about, was Brian Polian really a good special teams coordinator at Notre Dame is factually inaccurate. Matter of fact, here was Brian Polian's special teams records at Notre Dame. They were top 30 nationally every year. They were top 20 nationally in 2019 and in 2020. Pro Football Focus ranked them number 3 overall in 2019. He had a place kicker break Notre Dame's school record in career field goals, and he had a punter that was second in career punting average in Notre Dame history. This is all in the last 5 years, and they finished top 30 nationally last year, despite the fact that he lost his starting punter, his record-breaking starting punter, and his record-breaking kicker. Okay, well then why are the special teams bad, Nick? Well, it could be a lot of reasons. One of them is that he's still getting to know his personnel, which Brian Kelly said the whole staff is still struggling with up to this point. Number 2 is, as I said yesterday, the lack of depth on this team might be showing up on special teams. I mean, you only have 72 scholarship players, and that's only assuming everybody's healthy, which everybody is not. All right, well, why is your starting right tackle on punt coverage? Well, I mean, he wasn't your starting right tackle first 2 weeks, was he? And honestly, how many other options do you have other than to put him in punt coverage? Same thing with punt returner. Well, why is a walk-on returning punts? Well, you put Malik Neighbors back there, and he couldn't do it. Why isn't Jack Besh back there? Well, because he's been recovering from an injury all of fall camp. See what I mean? Now, look, are LSU special teams good right now? No, they're not. And that falls on Brian Polian and on Brian Kelly as well. But that doesn't mean Polian is a bad coach. It just means he's been coaching badly for the first 3 weeks, for whatever reason. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So for now, we sell. And lastly, let's give some love to the strength and conditioning coach, Jake Flint. LSU outscored Mississippi State 24-3 in the second half, and the offensive line blew up the Mississippi State defensive line in the fourth quarter to seal the game in the run game. If you want to win games, you got to be conditioned, you got to be strong, you got to be better than the other team in the trenches to put a team away. And that starts with the strength and conditioning. So buy stock in the new guy, Jake Flint. Now let's go to players. Quarterback, buy stock. Look, we could repeat everything I said the other day, but the offense is still not in rhythm. But he's still making clutch plays when it matters most. So buy stock in Jaden Daniels. Running backs, John Emery's back. He's shaking off the rust, but he had some nice plays. Armani Goodwin made a big run at the end to seal the victory. Josh Williams scored a tough run. And on top of that, you didn't have your other star running back, Noah Cain. So let's buy stock in the running backs. Offensive line, buy stock. You played that well, especially in the second half, with 2 true freshman tackles. I think for the first time, in LSU history, according to Todd Politz. So I'll buy it, but they're only going to get better because the only thing they lack right now is experience. Wide receiver, I'm going to hold this time. And look, the problem is not necessarily all on them, but there is a problem with Jaden Daniels on timing and rhythm. It's just not there for whatever reason. So it could be extenuating circumstances, but look, even though Malik Neighbors made some big catches when it mattered most, I'm going to say hold. Hold for now. Tight end, same thing, hold. Kind of goes hand in hand with the wide receivers. It's not all Mason Taylor's fault. He's a true freshman. He's learning how to block for the first time. He's got a new quarterback. Hold. I still like him when he gets the ball. He's still very impressive, but we'll hold. Defense, defensive line, buy stock. And especially after that bad performance against Florida State's offensive line, buy stock in that defensive line. They're back. Linebackers, buy stock. Baskerville is your best linebacker. He's back. And you have a 5-star freshman, Harold Perkins, shining way earlier than I thought he would. And he'll only get better. And then the defensive backs, buy all the way. You know what's amazing? Who would have thought that a vintage DBU performance would come back this season after all the talk we had in the offseason about how weak LSU was going to be at cornerback for the first time in 20-something years. And yet LSU's cornerbacks put up that kind of performance against that passing offense. And you know what's also more amazing? LSU's most talented cornerback on their roster, Sevyn Banks, hasn't even played yet. Still kind of coming in slowly from that injury he sustained last season. So that means the stock is only going to go way up for the defensive backs for LSU. Thanks for listening to Out of My League. If you like what you heard, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Or follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok in the description link below.